All right, looks like everyone's joining. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Hannah Crapeau. I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at Certaport. We're very excited to be able to spend some time today talking about our student competitions. And this is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, as I got to manage the competitions for about 5 years before moving over to my current role. Now, I know our webinar description said that we would have Dominique Delbar, who's our Certiport Competitions Manager currently, be able to present for this session. Unfortunately, she's had a little bit of a family emergency, so she has asked that I step in and present for you today. So I'm a little removed from this at the moment, but I've been doing it for long enough that hopefully I'll be able to give you the information that you're looking for. So I will say that if you have questions that you want addressed throughout the presentation, I'm just going to make sure that we enable our chat today. So if you have anything you want to make sure that we address, feel free to drop that in either the Q&A or the chat feature, and we'll make sure to address those questions as they come up. All right, let's dive in, everyone. So we are so excited to be able to spend some time talking about these amazing student-focused events. Now, every year we have 2 US national events and 2 World Championship events. So for students that are certifying in Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, we have our US National Championship, and then for students who are certifying in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, we have our Microsoft Office Specialist competition. And both of these US focused events are live. So students need to enter during the qualification period, and then the winners of these events will go on to represent the United States at our World Championship. So we're really excited for 2023 and to have students entering during this next school year. Now, to go through our agenda here today, we'll give a little bit of background into the competitions overall. We'll talk about how you can help your students to qualify, a little bit more detail about what happens at the US National Championship, since I know that's a big question for a lot of teachers, is what the students do. And then similar, we'll cover the World Championship, what happens at those events, what students can expect. We'll talk about life after the competition. So we've been able to stay in touch with quite a few of our former competitors and see where they're going and where the competition has taken them. And then we'll have some time for Q&A as well. So we'll start first with the Microsoft Office Specialist Championship. We have been lucky enough to be managing this event for over 20 years, and it is the only competition for Microsoft Office that is endorsed by Microsoft. Now, we have national championships that are held all over the world. We have a partner network that we work with that hosts our competitions in other countries outside of the United States. And the World Championship is held every year, sponsored by Certiport and Microsoft. And we do that in varying locations across the United States. So this year, we're going to be hosting our World Championship in Florida. It is a wonderful event that attracts a ton of attention from media outlets around the world. So we had the press from the National Press Association of Vietnam. We have writers who come in from different publications across the United States. And it's a wonderful opportunity for students to be able to showcase their skills on a world platform. And in 2023, we're very excited to have a documentary that will feature all of our Excel students and kind of a little bit more about their life and how they got involved in the competition. The Adobe Competition, in contrast, is a little bit newer. We've been running this event for about 9 years, and it's the only competition for graphic design that's endorsed by Adobe. The national competitions, again, similar to our Mosque events, are held all over the world by our different partners, and the World Championship is held every year in the United States. So these events overlap, we hold them together. So students who are competing in Microsoft and students that are competing in Adobe can come together. They'll do their competition portion separately, but then we make sure that they have a chance to spend time together and get to know each other as well. Now, this event is a little bit different, and we'll go through what happens at the competition in these slides a little bit later, but at the Adobe competition, we have students working similar to a real world scenario where they're creating a design piece for an actual nonprofit client. So it's an amazing opportunity for your students to test their skills in a workforce setting and to be able to see how they perform under pressure and how they perform when they're using their creativity to represent a specific brand. Now, one of the questions in reviewing the questions that were submitted as part of the registration is how can your students qualify? So we're really excited to have our 2023 competition period already open. These are just some things that I want you guys to know and consider as you're going through the testing period for this next school year. Now, students can qualify if they are between the ages of 13 and 22. So that's anywhere from junior high up into early college. And they need to pass one of the following Microsoft Office exams. So you can see there, it's Word, Excel, PowerPoint for 2016 and 2019. We know that a lot of students will take these exams multiple times, will take the expert exams to be able to prepare. It's important to note, though, that the qualifying scores are these exams that are listed here on the screen. Now, in addition to that information, we want to make sure that you know what the qualification requirements are. So a passing score technically is all that is required, but we do recommend that if students want to improve their scores, they utilize our learning curriculum, practice tests, and the expert level exams, as I mentioned before. So when they come to the World Championship, these students are going to be completing a project, although similar to the competition, or similar, excuse me, to the certification exam, it is of a higher rigor than the certification. So the students need to be prepared for an additional challenge. So that's where those expert level exams and that learning curriculum practice comes in. And top students from each state will receive an invitation to attend the Mosque US National Championship. So really, students during the qualification period are looking to compete with students from their own state. And then at the US event is when they all come together and compete with students from different states. So the requirements, depending on the testing volume and things like that, vary from state to state. We do recommend, of course, that students aim for a perfect score, and then factor in the speed. So students in the first place in their state will be the ones to receive the invitation. If that student is unable to attend, then we move on to second and third place as well. For the Adobe competition, the age requirement is the same. We have students ages 13 to 22, and they need a passing score on one of the following Adobe exams. So we have visual design using Photoshop, graphic design and illustration using Adobe Illustrator, print and digital media publication using InDesign. Now, they don't need to have all of those certifications. However, at the competition, they will be given the opportunity to utilize all three of those tools in creating their original project. So we do recommend, if possible, that they earn multiple certifications, as it will benefit them when they get to the competition. Now, this piece of the competition has an additional step. Unlike the Microsoft Office competition, this has an additional step for the qualification process. Students need to submit an original design project and source files to our entry platform, and I'll drop those links here in just a moment, but it's acachampionship.com/US. And there's a submission platform where they can upload their information as well as their final PDF and the source files for their project. This allows our team of judges to be able to look through and see how the students are able to utilize these tools in a design scenario. So we're able to look and see how they were able to complete certain tasks, how they were able to leverage their creativity and utilizing the tools as well. So unlike the Microsoft Office competition, it's not just about the exam score, it's also about how they use those tools in creating an original design. And this is something that I mentioned earlier. So all of our projects are reviewed by a panel of judges. We have an in-house creative team that reviews all of those, and the students with the best projects at the end of that qualification period will receive an invitation to the US National Championship. So wonderful opportunity for the students to showcase some of the work that they're doing in your own classroom. We don't have a specific prompt for what the students need to design or what they need to create. If they've created something that they're really proud of and they want to upload it to the competition, we more than encourage that. Let's not make extra work on you guys, utilize what the students are already doing and give them an opportunity to come and compete. So I'll call out this deadline, since these are obviously really important for your testing timelines and how you're structuring your semesters. So This year for the Microsoft and for the Adobe competition, we've split up the qualification period into two different qualifiers. So the Fall Qualifier started back in June and will allow students to test until December 16th. And so after those scores have been submitted, those will be the group that we'll work with to be able to select our Fall Qualifier participants. And we'll send out those invitations toward the end of December, first part of January. And then for those who test after that period or upload their projects for the Adobe competition after that timeline, from December 17th through May 12th is our spring qualifier, and we'll issue a new batch of invitations during the spring as well. So from my side, and this is one thing that I encouraged a lot of educators to consider as they were testing with their students, if possible, encourage your students to submit as part of the Fall Qualifier, because it does give you more time for planning purposes. It gives you more time for fundraising if that's necessary. And it allows the students just a little bit more lead time to be able to plan out their summer and fund the travel and some additional costs. Now, the student qualifiers for the U.S. National Championship, we want them to know that this is not an additional registration cost. So we do require that all students fund their travel, and I'll get to that here in just a moment, but they're able to come to the event completely free. So in addition to that, we require that all qualifiers who are underage, so under 18, also bring a chaperone with them, and there is no charge for them or for their chaperone. The first chaperone, of course, receives the conference pass. We do know that some students like to be able to come with both parents or with siblings or with some friends. So if they're bringing additional guests with them, we will have an additional registration fee for that. But the first chaperone and the student can register completely free. Qualifiers are responsible for their travel costs to and from the U.S. National Championship. So that includes the flight, ground transportation, and hotel. So we want to make sure that you plan on roughly, depending on, how expensive the flights are and things like that, plan on roughly $1,000 per student to be able to cover the hotel, which is about $150, $160 a night, and then the airfare as well. So we have this next year, something that we're really excited to be able to share with a lot of our students and teachers. Students can apply for Certiport's new travel scholarship, and we'll have details about that coming very soon. But we want to make sure that students who have financial need or students who wouldn't be able to fundraise and attend this event otherwise, that we give them a chance to be able to participate and recognize their amazing accomplishments. So we'll have more information about that coming very soon. Something else that we're very excited about this next year is that all educators who have a student qualify for the U.S. National Championship, both Microsoft and Adobe, will be able to receive a complimentary pass to our Certified Educator Conference. So in the past, we've had these events siloed where we have the students on one side, the educators on another, but we know a lot of you, if you're coming to the competition, want to be able to participate in the Educator Conference as well. So we're really excited about this offer, and we hope that those who are planning on having students compete will join us for Certified, so that you have a chance to get some professional development, time to network with other educators as well, and be able to enjoy some development on your side while the students are able to enjoy the competitions. Now let's take a little bit of a deep dive into the U.S. National Championship, talk a little bit about what happens at these events. So first we'll go ahead and showcase a video from this last year.
We are back. It is awesome to be in person again with so many teachers. Seeing those friendly faces again, we've missed you. One of the powerful aspects of a conference like this is teachers being able to network with other teachers. Fantastic opportunity to hear from teachers about the experiences they're having in the classroom. You make a difference in the world.
Folks at Certaport, I just want to thank you for a great event. We've learned a ton. There's going to be a ton we can take back to our district. It's been a ton of fun.
everything's big in Texas, right? And in fact, you know, I think we need the real hat. Now we're talking. Texas also. We are here in Dallas, Texas at the Microsoft Office Specialist U.S. National Championship event. We are so excited to see students from all over the country here to compete against one another to be the best in the nation and to represent the United States at the World Championship at Disneyland, California. At the Adobe Certified Professional U.S. National Championship, we have over 20 students here representing states from across the nation, here to compete for big prize money and to do a project for a nonprofit organization called Limitless.
These opportunities to share your skills and express your ideas and explain how things were created is the thing that will help lead you to a career.
Teacher, your plate gets full. Have you noticed that? But one thing on your plate that you never want removed is your certification program. Thank you from Certaport for having that on your plate and putting your heart and soul into a program that you know changes kids' lives.
If you're teaching certification in the classroom and you want to learn from the best, come to this conference and learn how to take back these tools into the classroom and empower your students to have college and career success.
So really amazing opportunity. We're excited to be able to go back to Florida this next year. We want to make sure that you mark your calendars for those. June 19th through the 22nd in 2023, we'll be hosting the U.S. National Championships as well as our Certified Educator Conference. So one of the questions that we get a lot from educators in thinking about preparing their students for the competition is what they should expect to be able to do when they come to the US and the World Championships. So for students who are coming to compete in Microsoft Office, whether that's Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, they'll be coming to take a 50-minute exam. So similar in timing to the certification exam, they'll be coming and taking a test that takes 50 minutes. It's project-based, so similar to what they are used to coming across in the certification, and they test the candidate's expertise in the software. For the Adobe Certified Professional US National Championship, we have things structured a little bit differently. The students will be given 8 hours to create a project for a designated nonprofit client. So in the video, you heard Craig mention that our students created a project for Limitless, which is a nonprofit based out of Orlando. And the students really have an understanding of how to use their skills and creativity on behalf of a brand. So they need to be able to flex their ideas and make it so that it fits within the creative brief that's mentioned here. And they also need to be able to utilize the platforms, so Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, to be able to create something that can turn around and be used immediately by this partner that we'll be working with. So the students, in contrast to taking an exam, will need to be able to understand the guidelines set up in our project brief. They need to be able to understand graphic design vocabulary and need to be able to meet the needs and logo usage guidelines, branding guidelines associated with the given client that they'll find out about when they come to the event. And one thing that's important to note is that this event, as you saw in the video, isn't just about the students coming and taking a test or creating a project. It really is an opportunity for them to be able to collaborate and meet students from across the country. So we offer gift bags. We have students hanging out in the student lounge. You saw that a lot in that video, being able to play games and get to know each other and get to know other students across the country. We're excited this next year to be able to have a luau with a DJ, get the students dancing and having a good time. We'll also have some downtime for them to be able to explore Disney Springs, which is right across the street from our hotel. And they'll be able to compete overall against the top students from the US. We have in the closing day where we have our award ceremonies, we bring them together with our certified attendees to be able to learn from keynote speakers. So this last year we had a fabulous speech from a former Olympian, Noel Pikus-Pace. And it's really great for the students to come and get inspired, be able to collaborate with other students from across the country who share similar interests and be able to showcase their skills. So we're really excited to be able to be back in person. It's been a rough couple of years without having the competition. Having it back this year was just a really nice breath of fresh air for us and for our team as well. For Microsoft Office students who come and compete at the US National Championship level, we have various prizes that are offered. So for those who win first place, they'll be granted $3,000. We also have a gold medal, trophy, gifts from Microsoft that vary from year to year, and then an all expenses paid trip to compete at the World Championship. Our second place students get $2,000, a silver medal, and then gifts from Microsoft as well. And then third place takes home a bronze medal and $1,000 with gifts from Microsoft that will be offered to them as well. So it's really fantastic opportunity to come and not only get recognition, but to earn some fabulous prizes. Our Adobe Certified Professional Championship also offers similar prizes. So $3 for first place, $2,000 for second, $1,000 for third. We also have, of course, the students coming to compete at the World Championship. What's different here is that students in first, second, and third place will be able to get that all expenses paid trip to the World Championship. So first place students go on to compete at the World Championship for Microsoft Office. First, second, and third will be able to compete at the World Championship for Adobe. So I just wanted to call out that the students, in addition to themselves getting an all expenses paid trip, we have them bring a chaperone with them as well. So we know many of our students who are coming to compete are 18 and under. So we want to make sure that either you as the teacher or one of their parents is able to attend with them as well and be able to share in that experience with them. So I'll touch briefly on the World Championship so that you guys get a feel for what that looks like as well, because of course, some of your students that end up competing at the US National Championship will go on to represent the United States at the World Championship. So a couple of things that are different between the US and the World Championship. At the US competition, we have students taking an exam similar to what they take at the qualification period, so the certification exam. At the World Championship, we have things structured a little bit differently, and that's something that we changed over this last year. We have a roughly 3-hour exam. And so this is a project similar to the certification, but it also incorporates real world applications. So the students this last year were designing for a nonprofit client connected with Microsoft and being able to showcase how they use Excel and Word and PowerPoint to meet a real world business need. So that's something that we've changed this last year, and we're excited to be able to see how the students perform in a more traditional workforce setting. So we haven't yet determined who that real world client will be, but we're excited to be able to share that with the students so they can prepare over the coming months. And then the Adobe Certified Professional World Championship is structured very similarly to the US National Championship. 8 hours to create a project for a designated client. So this last year, our students worked for an organization called the Ocean Agency, designing a poster to make customers and donors aware of an upcoming event that was being held for climate change and talking about climate action. So it's really great to have students working with these nonprofit partners because they are so passionate about these missions that these nonprofit partners bring to the table, and a wonderful opportunity to expand their portfolio in a true design setting. So the World Championship, similar, of course, to the US National Championship, is not just about coming and taking the test. It's really about students coming together, getting recognized for all the hard work that they've done and having a good time. So gift bags, again, the student lounge, we have student parties, as you can see here in this picture. We also, the World Championship is extended an additional day, so the students are able to go off site. We give them tickets to theme parks. This next year, we'll be going to Disney World, and they can compete against their fellow competitors from across the globe. And really the best part is watching these students really connect and become friends. And it's amazing at the World Championship because these students oftentimes don't speak the same language, but they all connect over their interests in making the world a better place and also being able to progress with these skills that they've learned. So it really is a special opportunity and something that we look forward to every year at the Certaport team. Now, the prizes, of course, at the World Championship have to be bigger and better than just the National Championship. So our first place students win $8,000, second place wins $4,000, and then third place wins $2,000. And of course, medals are associated with each of those placements, as well as gifts from Microsoft that will be offered each year. And similar for the Adobe Certified Professional competition, we have $8,000, $4,000, and $2,000 respectively. And then we also have medals and trophies that are associated with those prizes. Now, one of the things that I think is most important about the competition, although the prize money is great, having a wonderful experience is absolutely fabulous, it's really about students being able to leverage this opportunity into something more when they graduate from high school, when they graduate from college, when they go on to the workforce, being able to use this opportunity to launch them into a successful career. So I just wanted to call out a couple different stories here that are so powerful, and you can see at the bottom the link to be able to download this ebook, which I'll touch on shortly. So the student here on the left, her name is Ashley Masters. She first came to compete in the competition when she was 14, 15 years old. So early high school, she was a freshman. She's very shy, and it is amazing to see the difference in what certification has done for her. So she was very passionate about certification. It had really empowered her with a lot more confidence than she'd had in herself previously. And her teacher out of Washington State, Mrs. Kathy Schmidt, really encouraged her to get involved in certification in the competition. So she pushed really hard. She ended up coming and competing at the US National Championship and always came in that 4th or 5th place. So she never really got to come and compete at the World Championship. But in getting this certification and in Mrs. Schmidt, her teacher, sharing the results of the amazing work that she did at the competition, one of the sponsors from their local hometown saw that she had won, that she'd placed in, the top 5 or the top place in the country in the FBLA competition as well. And she was offered a job at 15 years old to come in and train their employees at this shipping and trucking company in Excel. So she was able to work at this company just a couple hours a week, training the different employees on how to use Excel and how to use Microsoft Office. Well, when their administrative assistant left, she was able to leverage that 2-hour training job a week into getting a full-time job at just 15. So it's absolutely incredible to see what these students are able to do. Ashley has since graduated from college and is now in her MBA program in Washington State. She's also working at Microsoft. So it's just amazing. She actually was our speaker from Microsoft this last year at the World Championship. So she's been able to take her certification and her drive to succeed and this competition and turn it into something that is just an amazing career. The student here on the right is from North Carolina, Ali Khan. Ali was one of our competitors, similar in age, early to mid high school. He was coming to the competition, and he again didn't win, didn't come to the World Championship, but was able to lever this into an amazing opportunity. He went on to Purdue University, where he studied computer science, and then was able to use his certifications not only in Microsoft Office, but in Microsoft's other technological certifications to a job at Amazon, where he did computer science and app development. So it's absolutely amazing to see what the competition and the confidence that comes from these events does for these students. So in this ebook here in the middle, you can see the cover. We've covered some of these stories. We have Ashley's story, we have Ollie's story, and some other stories from students across the globe and across the country. So I'd encourage you to visit that URL, download that ebook, and take a look at some of those stories. You can also go to the Certaport blog, so certaport.com/blog, and then we have a filter to be able to see just student stories, so you can share some of these with your students and see where some of these competitors have gone since competing in the Mosque Championship. So similar to the Mosque Championship, we also like to follow our Adobe competitors and see where the competition takes them. So here on the left, we have Akil Dunkley. Akil is originally born in Jamaica, moved to the United States to Florida when he was about 16 years old. And he was one of our first US national champions. He came and competed in one of the first years of the competition and did an absolutely fabulous job, and was able to leverage his certifications and his understanding of the Adobe programs into an acceptance at SCAD, so Savannah College of Art and Design. Afterwards, he went into freelance photography and now works as a digital graphics artist out in Los Angeles. So he's been able to use his certifications, use the competition to land some absolutely incredible positions and some amazing connections in the creative industry. And here on the right, we have Elliot Chang. So Elliot was one of our competitors, I think about 5 years ago, and he competed at the World Championship. Didn't end up winning, but was able to use his certifications to land him a job at a startup in Los Angeles when he was a student at USC, and has absolutely skyrocketed his career. He now works as a product designer, and it's amazing to see what these students can do with these credentials. You know, it's absolutely something that is life-changing and incredibly impactful to have these opportunities to network with other professionals, network with other students who are similar in age, similar in interest. And so we encourage you to, again, download. You can see here the URL for this ebook, and the stories also live, like I mentioned, on the Certiport blog as well. So if you're looking for inspiring stories to share with your students, I would say definitely share some of these, because these students have been able to do absolutely wonderful things with their certification and with their competition experience. If you're looking for a live forum to be able to get your students excited about the competition, I will just call out a series that we're going to be launching in the coming weeks. We're going to be starting an Ask a Champion, webinar series. So we'll have one champion a month coming to represent Mosque, and then one similar for Adobe, where they're coming to talk about their competition experience, how they got certified, advice for other students. And we're hoping to have these take place during your classes, so while your students are in school, so that they can get to see these stories and hear these stories live. So our first events will be coming up in October. We'll have Juan Manuel Suarez Garcia, who's a student out of Mexico, coming and talking about his experience at the Microsoft Office competition. And as part of our Adobe Academy program, our professional development webinars that we host for the different educators, we have the Ask a Champion series where we'll actually have, and I'll just go back here, we'll have Akil and Elliot coming back to talk live about their experience at the competition. So really wonderful series that we're excited to be able to start and to share these stories in live format with a lot of our students and our educators as well. So that's the end of our presentation today. I'll go ahead and stop sharing, and then we can turn to the chat to see if we have any questions that we want to make sure that we address. So first question that we had come through is, when are we sending out certificates from the spring qualifier? Now that is an excellent question. I believe those have already been sent out. So if you haven't seen those come through, Patricia, I'll just make sure to take a note of your name, and I'll follow up with Dominique about that when she's back in office. Another question that came through, will the Mosque Qualifier be both 2016 and 2019? So the answer to that is yes. We'll have potentially then 6 students from each state for each qualifier. So you can have 3 students competing in 2016, 3 students competing in 2019, and then we'll have 6 of them from each, the fall qualifier and the spring qualifier. So up to 12 students per state can come and compete. Looks like that's all the questions we have so far. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. How does a student get qualified in Adobe? So that is an excellent question. And let me actually, I'll just go ahead and share my screen again, and we will go back through so you can see some of this information, since I know we hit it kind of rapid fire there at the beginning. So competing, to your point, is in Adobe, or qualifying for the Adobe competition, is a little bit different than it is for our Microsoft students. So students for the Adobe competition need to pass one of the following Adobe Certified Professional exams, so Photoshop, Illustrator, or InDesign. And then in addition to getting the certification, they also need to submit an original design project with the source files. So we have a team of judges that then goes through all of those submitted projects and decides who the top candidates are. And those candidates are then invited to the US National Championship. So I'll put this here up on the screen again, because I think it's important to know the deadlines. We'll have the fall qualifier that will be ending the end of this year, December 16th. So right before everyone leaves for holiday break. And then those who certify after that timeline, or for the Adobe competition, submit their project after that timeline, they'll still be able to qualify. They'll just be a part of the spring qualifier block, and so won't hear about their invitations until the middle of May. All right, so we had another question. What happens when a test candidate does not receive the hard copy certificate? So I am going to ask for a little bit more information. Hopefully whoever asked this question can expound on this. Are you talking about the certification, or the certificate, excuse me, for the certification or for the competition? So I'll wait to see a little bit more details on that, and we'll move on to a couple other questions. What is the criteria for Adobe? So that is a great question. So we leave it fairly open-ended. We don't want this to be something that you have to spend a lot of time creating with your students. So we just require that students submit a final PDF and the source files for their project. So I will call out just a couple of insider tips, having worked on the competition for several years. We want to see that the students can create something that would work in a setting for a nonprofit client or for a real world client. So we want to be able to see multiple elements of design. We love the artistic pieces that are submitted, but we also want to see that students are able to use skills with typography, that they're able to use layout skills, that they're able to incorporate things like logos, since those are the skills that are going to be required when they come to compete at the US and the World Championship. It's great if the projects that they submit to be able to qualify also incorporate a lot of those skills. So definitely not required. They can submit any original piece that they feel like represents their skills, but those are things that are really impressive to our judges because they want to see that the students are able to perform well at the competition. So additional question, what is the process for bringing students who competed in nationals in 2022? So that's an excellent question. If you've had students compete before, we know that it's an amazing experience. A lot of them really catch the fever, catch the vision, and they want to be able to come back and compete again. We more than encourage that. For Microsoft Office, I will call out that they can come back to compete again, but they're not able to compete in the same category. So if you had a student who competed in Word and Nationals in 2022, and they want to come back and compete, they will need to choose another exam category. So Excel or PowerPoint. And that carries over whether they competed in 2016 or 2019. They're not able to compete in that same exam category. So Adobe is a little bit different because it is a competition that is similarly structured every year. It's not a different exam that they can take. Students can only come and compete once. So hopefully that makes sense. Another question, do students get an official certificate for passing Word 2019 Associate? If so, where will the certificates be sent to? So these are all great questions as it relates to the programs. I know a lot of the certificates are available for download from the portal. So if the students log in and are able to look at their profile, they should be able to download a PDF of their certificate there. So if you haven't received those in the mail, I would just recommend checking it there because they're able to print them then immediately from their portal. And then just expounding on the question that we got earlier about the certificate. So the certificate for the certification. So thank you, Fifi, for expanding on that. So that looks like it's just what I mentioned before. If you haven't gotten that, they're able to go in and either print it off online or request that a PDF, or excuse me, a printed certificate be sent to them. So additional questions coming through. Will there be a published list of important skills that the Adobe project needs to have to be competitive, or just as many as possible? So I'm loving all of these questions, and I love that we have educators who are really interested in getting students to the competition. I wish that Dominique were here because she'd be able to talk through this in a little bit more detail, but I know something that she's working on currently. We're calling our competition in a box. And this is just instructions, detailed information about what to do to help your students prepare, or if you want to run your own competition in your classroom. So Dawn, if you're looking for that information, and I know that there's probably a lot of other educators who are looking for that information as well, that will be forthcoming. We'll have that here in just a little bit, be sent out via email so that you can download those pieces for your students. Amazing. Glad everyone's excited about that. Any other questions? Looks like we have one. What are the requirements for organizing a national championship in Ghana? So it looks like we have some representation out of the United States, which is wonderful. So if you are one of our educators that is not from the United States and are looking for information about your local competition, I will say that we have, as I mentioned, our partner network that organizes our national championships. So we have in Ghana a local competition that is held, and those students are then sponsored by our partner to come to the World Championship. So if you are looking for that information, just go to mosquechampionship.com and then scroll down to that second section, and it will link to the page with all of our partner information for different countries across the globe. And you'll be able to see the links and information for their national championship. All right, next question. Does the US national exam include all three areas? Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, are the areas separate? Great question. So the US National Championship exam is separated. So students will compete in either Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. And then when they come to the World Championship, they'll have the opportunity to create a project separate from their certification exam and separate from their competition exam, but still showcasing the skills for their designated track. So whether that's a newsletter for Word, a spreadsheet for Excel, and then a presentation for PowerPoint, the skills are still separated, but it's a little bit more creative. So hopefully that answers your question there. All right, any other questions that we can answer? Looks like hopefully we've answered most of them so far. I know that this is a lot of information, and I know that there are a lot of teachers who are very excited about this. I will say we have, like I mentioned, the competition in a box. We have more information that's definitely forthcoming. So we'll be sending out the recording that we've had here today to all of our registered attendees. So if you weren't able to attend the full session or are looking for some additional clarification, we'll be sending out the recording. And I just want to call out that you're more than welcome to reach out to us. If you want to ask some clarifying questions or want to know the timeline for those competition in a box deliverables, please feel free to reach out to us. I myself or additional members of our team who have worked on the competition for several years are more than happy to answer those questions for you. So thank you so much for attending, everyone. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out and we will talk to you soon.